In the minds of many historians, two of the most influential leaders in Rome, and also two of the most influential figures of all time, were Caesar and Augustus. Caesar was dictator for life in the Roman Republic, and he paved the way for the Roman Empire. Augustus was the first Roman emperor and the establisher of the Principate. My video will mainly focus on the posthumous divinization and admiration of Caesar, but I'll also include the same for Augustus because after their deaths, the two were so connected in the Roman Empire. Who was Julius Caesar? Caesar was a Roman who rose to political prominence in the first triumvirate. That was an alliance with himself, Pompey, and Crassus. He was an incredibly talented general, and he conquered Gaul in the 50s BC. Afterwards, with his large army, he crossed the Rubicon without the Senate's approval, causing civil war and Caesar to eventually eliminate all his opponents, including his once-known ally, Pompey. From there, he becomes dictator perpetuo, dictator for life. He reconstructed the government, including the Senate. He connected the governance of Rome with its territory, and established many reforms. As dictator perpetuo, though, and with his aggressive reforms, the Senate was not happy, and in March of 44 BC, he was assassinated by Brutus and a group of senators. Afterwards, the Roman Republic ended, and the Roman Empire would soon be established by Augustus. During his lifetime, Caesar definitely established imperial cult around himself, like so many emperors that followed him. He was the first Roman to have images of himself on coins, and he even named the month of July after himself in his newly reformed calendar, the Julian calendar. He was said to have worn a crown, triumphal robes, and he sat in a special gilded chair. He claimed to be a descendant from Venus, and some historians argue that he was well on his way to establishing a monarchy. Either way, it's clear that this was propaganda, and that he wished to be seen in a similar fashion to a god. Koortbojian in Divinization of Caesar and Augustus says, quote, "There is still confusion whether Caesar was explicitly acknowledged as a god during his lifetime. It's safe to say that his propaganda and bolstering of his image contributed to his deification and admiration after his death." After his assassination, Caesar was officially deified by the Senate in 42 BC. He was the first Roman ever to be deified, and his official title became Divus Julius, meaning the divine Julius. Immediately afterwards came a cult for Caesar. Commoners admired his achievements, and most were truly convinced that he was divine. As adopted son of Caesar, Augustus became known as Divi Filius, son of the divine. Augustus wished for his adoptive father to be remembered as a deity. He held ceremonies for him and established a temple. Augustus also took advantage of his adopted name. His birth name was Octavian, but he took Caesar's full name, Gaius Julius Caesar, between Caesar's death and his rise to emperorship in 27 BC. E.S. Ramage states Caesar's name was so powerful that it gave Octavian, quote, a power base as he rose to dominate the state. There's also a famous line by Mark Antony to Octavian, which says, "You boy, owe everything to your name." Augustus also wished for a separation between himself and Caesar. Augustus wanted to be known as a human ruler for the people, while Caesar, a god and physically distant. Ramage also states that by deifying Caesar and emphasizing he had gone to the stars, it separated himself from Caesar, which in turn meant more attention to Augustus's achievements. Augustus became a more relatable figure to the Romans, while Caesar became depersonalized and almost enigmatic. Also, in 44 BC, Halley's Comet passed over Rome, just months after Caesar was assassinated. Augustus claimed it was the star of Caesar, and he was on his way to heaven. Overall, Augustus's treatment of Caesar after his death was brilliant. He showed reverence for Caesar, which I believe was sincere, but he also took advantage and used Caesar's name and legacy for his own political career to become emperor. The title of Caesar became illustrious. Caesar became a synonym for the word emperor. We already saw how important this title was for Augustus, and its influence and importance only grew as time went on. A vast majority of emperors had Caesar in their names. They usually had Imperator Caesar Augustus in their titles, as seen here with Marcus Aurelius, Hadrian, Claudius, and Septimius Severus. Caesar was also used to denote heirs apparent. Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus went by the titles Augustus and Caesar during their rule. We also saw this in the Tetrarchy system. Established by Diocletian because of how massive the empire was, he established two emperors of the empire, one for the west and one for the east. The emperors were called the Augustuses, while they had junior emperors and planned successors who were called the Caesars. Caesar was admired in many ways, including coins, statues, and buildings. Caesar during his lifetime was the first person to appear on a Roman coin. After his death, there also appeared coins with Divius Julius inscripted on them. For statues, during his lifetime, he had a statue constructed next to other Roman gods, along with many other statues constructed after his assassination. Edmund Thomas suspects that the older version of the Pantheon before it burned down had a statue of Caesar next to Venus and Mars. The most significant building is the Temple of Caesar, constructed in 29 BC. Some of it still remains today. To conclude, whether it was just admiration or going as far as claiming him divine, most Romans certainly loved Caesar after his death. This admiration is a big reason why he remains to be one of the most influential figures in history.